Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. Today, this is my group coaching client check-in, and it's recorded as my response is recorded as a podcast, which you are listening to today. It is not only for my clients and their feedback, but a lot of their wins and their challenges are going to be very applicable to you in your own weight loss journey. So if you are listening to this and you're not a client, this is still a really worthwhile podcast to listen to, because many of the challenges are things that you are going to be able to relate to. And I'm going to talk you through on how to overcome certain challenges and just give you some really helpful suggestions. Now, one of the first things that I really want to do is I want to celebrate my clients' wins. And in the same way that if you're listening to this podcast, you need to be celebrating your wins, because the small wins that you achieve are really important to recognize. We are so quick to focus on the negatives of all the things that we do wrong or don't do good enough, or where we perceive we're failing. We miss out these really important, even if they're really small, but wins are important to celebrate. And your wins and recognizing them, no matter how small, are like the stepping stones to you making progress to achieving your goal. And celebrating these little stepping stones, perhaps they're more bigger milestones, even whatever, no matter how little or how big, your wins really do need to be celebrated, because giving yourself that recognition will help you feel accomplished and will help you feel more motivated at continuing to do what's needed to improve your health, to lose weight, and to achieve your goals. Now, cracking on and getting straight stuck in, I want to talk about one of my clients, Robin. She's increased her steps. She's now hitting 7,000 steps every day. She did a gym workout on a Wednesday afternoon, which is not her usual time to work out. She usually goes in the morning, but being flexible, rather than sacking off the workout completely, she did it in the afternoon, and this is a big win. She is also increasing protein at most of her meals, and obviously with my support and my coaching and our communication in the chat group, I am obviously, as we go through the weeks, Robin, your goal is to include protein at pretty much all of your meals. Now, the occasional meal won't hinder your progress, but whilst you're in coaching and whilst I'm here to support you, it's really great to just try and increase that protein at each meal. And remember, you can simply increase the protein source that you're already having, or you can combine a number of different protein sources together. Now, Rachel is tracking calories, and she is managing to stay within the calorie range that I've set her. So a calorie range is a target range rather than a definitive number. And the reason why I give all my clients who track, not all of them do track, but the reason why I do give clients who track a calorie range is because your hunger levels may fluctuate day to day depending on various factors, but how you feel, whether your sleep, how you slept, your activity level, etc. And you're not a robot, and recognizing that some days you may feel less hungry and some days you may feel more hungry. But if you look at an average over the week, then you're going to be aiming for around about the calorie target that I gave you. But each day, as long as you're staying within the calorie range, so it's a little bit below the target and a little bit above the target, you will still be in a deficit, even if you're at the upper end of your calorie range. Now, the other win for Rachel is she went to Lord's Cricket for the day. Rather than eat the fast food that's typically on offer at these types of events, she took her own food. She made a lovely M&S picnic, which is a really nice way of enjoying the day, taking food and enjoying food to support your health. Now, one thing I do just want to pick Rachel up on is you referred to your choices as good choices. Now, I know that you're using that innocently and as a figure of speech, but remember, our language and labeling food can distort our perceptions and feelings towards certain foods. Because if something's good, it can also mean that something might be bad. And if we eat something that we tell ourselves is bad, then it will have a negative impact on how we feel, the potential actions we take after eating a food type that we perceive as bad. And usually that means that you quit on your goals because you perceive you failed from eating something bad. And then you end up really ruining your nutrition by eating a load more, in inverted commas, bad food because you think you've ruined things. So just thinking about food as more nutritious, some is less nutritious, but all food is included. Remember, you want to just be focusing on eating mostly whole foods, high in protein, high in fiber, which comes from veg and salad, and that you're eating foods that you enjoy, give you satiety as well as satisfaction, that nourish you and that ultimately make you feel good. I'm just going to cough. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. Joe has already noticed that she is losing weight. Now, this is really positive. However, we're in week 1. And I do want to really emphasize, and I like to be always honest and upfront, that usually any initial weight loss when you start a diet, and that's any type of diet, is usually water weight from just simply improving the quality of your nutrition, which you have done, Joe. And so it may not necessarily be body fat. So yes, it's positive. Yes, it's encouraging. And if you continue to keep up the behaviors and the choices that you're making as we go through the weeks, and your scale weight continues to trend down, then yes, it's going to represent body fat loss, which we will also see in your visual progress photos when we do our comparisons. But it's really positive that you're raising your awareness from tracking, noticing the food values and calories of certain foods, and trying to recognize where you may have previously been eating much higher calorie foods, and making those positive changes because it aligns with the goal that you have. And the goal that you have is to lose weight, lose body fat, and you need to reduce calories in order to do that. So by reducing those higher calorie foods, which tend to be your more processed and ultra processed foods, it's going to benefit your health. So it's all positive. And you're also getting more steps in, which is great. Now, Ellie is also tracking her food and tracking through using an app. And just to say again, not all my clients do track. But in order to track accurately, I recommend that clients weigh their food. And yeah, it is a bit of a hassle when you begin doing this. However, learning portion sizes is really important because there can be a huge error in terms of the amount of calories you think you're eating from not weighing your food compared to what you're actually eating. And so weighing food helps you recognize portion sizes, manage those portion sizes, and track as accurately as possible so that it supports your goal. It's not you being obsessive. It's not you being unhealthy. It is actually a really healthy approach to you understanding how to manage your food intake and how to reduce your calories in order to reduce weight, which is your ultimate goal, as well as improving your health and feeling good. Now, you've said that when you're eating out, you're not obviously weighing, and of course, you're not going to take your weighing scales when eating out. Now, what I would say is rather than not track anything when you're eating out, I would always track something, and to overestimate. You have to guesstimate, but I would always overestimate. So whatever it is that you're having, I would still track it. And if you are eating out and it's not a mainstream restaurant, then I would look up a similar genre or type of restaurant that's mainstream and track something like for like from their menu to represent what it is that you're choosing and having at maybe a restaurant that doesn't display calories on their menus. Now, a lot of restaurants do display calories, And if you know you're eating out, I would always recommend that you plan ahead, look at a menu in advance. Some menus, some restaurants make it really hard to find the nutritional info, but if you look on Google, you will usually find it, and then you can make informed choices. And remember as well, even though you're tracking and you're estimating when you're eating out, don't underestimate the ability to tune in to your own level of fullness. And you want to eat to that 6 or 7 on the hunger scale that I've shared with you previously in our chat group. And the hunger scale, for anyone listening, is a way to manage and recognize your fullness. So rather than eating to 100% fullness, you are stopping before you get there. And to put it really simply, I also refer to it as eating to 80% full. And eating to 80% full means you're mildly full, you're comfortable, you've had enough. You could eat more, but you're going to choose not to, because this is representing you eating a little less and supporting your weight loss goal. So don't underestimate that. And when you do reach that level of 80% fullness, if you still do have food on your plate, give yourself permission to leave it. You don't have to eat everything if it means eating past fullness if you're trying to lose weight. Of course, there may be the odd occasion, really special meal that you're eating somewhere where it's really super special, it's a treat, it's a celebration, whatever. Sometimes we do eat past fullness, but for your general eating out, if it's a regular thing or you're with the kids and it's nothing, it's just a normal meal out, notice that fullness, honor your fullness, and give yourself permission to leave food. Now, you had also 2 social events out. It's great that you were mindful of your food choices. You've also commented that you didn't feel guilty for allowing yourself something you'd usually consider as bad or naughty. And again, just want to pull you up, like I did to my other client previously. No food is good or bad. Some food is more nutritious, some food is less so. You perceiving food as good or bad will, like I say, change your responses, your reactions to it, not your responses, your reactions. So just call yourself out on that type of language. Every time you find yourself calling and labeling foods, do call yourself out and challenge yourself on those thoughts and feelings around certain foods. Now, I do want to pull you up on the food choice that you had, not because it's a food choice that I would say not to have, because again, these are your preferences, your choices, and you're managing your calories over the day. And if you're managing and planning ahead, you can eat any food you want if you can make it work within your calorie range target and you hit your protein target. But I just want to point something out, because sometimes, and this comes about when we don't plan ahead and we don't track, or we don't look at menus and look up like for like alternative menus selling the same foods at their restaurants. Now, you chose a Greek salad with a side of skinny fries. Now, I've looked up the Real Greek restaurant just to see what their Greek salad and skinny fries are. Together, they're just under 1,000 calories. So sometimes we think we might be choosing the healthier option, but remember, healthy doesn't always mean lower calorie. And it can often be a really innocent, genuine mistake when we're looking at ordering food off menus. So this is where knowledge is power, and this is where planning ahead can really help you support your goals. Now, eating 1,000-calorie meal when you eat out, it's not right or wrong. If you're managing the rest of your meals in your day and you're fitting it into your calorie target, then you've made it work. But if you're not, and you genuinely have exceeded the calories that you thought you were eating, especially if you didn't track that meal out, you unknowingly have gone over probably your higher calorie range target as well. And you've removed the calorie deficit that you were in unknowingly. So remember, always check the menu in advance. Look up like for like so that you get an idea. And sometimes as well, it's like, if if you think about having a burger with a side salad and swapping out the chips, it's around 650 calories, depending the type of burger, how big it is, what it contains inside. But it's around, say, 600 to 700 odd calories. Like sometimes that would give you more pleasure and satisfaction than the Greek salad and the chips. Like, just think about, this is where planning ahead and not labeling foods really, really benefits you. Now, Caroline, you've noticed a reduced, you're snacking less this week. And this is because you are most likely increasing your protein and fiber intake and preparing more substantial meals. You have also ran your personal best on your 5K park run. This is amazing. This is really, these are great. This is a great measure of progress. And recognizing progress outside of the scales is really, really important. You're also feeling more organized about what you eat, and this is really good. So plan ahead. Think about always prioritizing, what is my protein source in this meal? What veg or salad or fruit am I going to have alongside this meal? Remember, when you're putting food on your plate, and you can refer back to your coaching handbook where I talk about portion sizes, the majority of food on your plate needs to come from veg or salad. And if the meal lends itself to more fruit, then obviously it's going to be fruit. You want to have an abundance of the veg, salad, or fruit. And then you're going to have a good serving of protein and some carbohydrates and a smaller amount of fats. We still want to include some fats because fats are very important for our hormonal health as well as our feeling of satisfaction and the taste, let's face it. Now, moving on to challenges. So, okay, now we discussed this in our chat group as and when it happened, but I'm going to reference it here because it is really, you can never repeat things too many times. And sometimes hearing things said in a different way resonates more. But I had a client who went out for dinner, had alcohol, and then pressed the fuck it button. I can swear, it's my podcast, right? But she went out and did what many of us have done, right? Including myself, where you've pressed the fuck it button. Now, we broke this down and I looked into the food diary for the day of this particular client, and I noticed that there were not regular meals. There was no protein in some of those meals, and it had been a long period of time before eating something and going out in an overly hungry state is never a good thing, because you lose your ability to make choices that are in line with your goal, because that hunger just takes over your inability to make a smart choice, a sensible decision that aligns with your goal. And then because you're so hungry, you will probably tend to eat a little bit quicker. And when you eat too quickly, it impacts your digestion, your enjoyment, and also your ability to notice when you're reaching that mild level of fullness. So it's very easy to eat past fullness. And then obviously when you're drinking alcohol, it can impact your ability to make smart decisions. Now, I'm going to go on to alcohol because I've had another client also mention alcohol. And this is my advice with alcohol consumption. Now, first of all, I am not against anyone enjoying a glass of something if they want to enjoy alcohol. I don't have an issue with it. However, when you're working towards a weight loss goal, alcohol it will likely impact your weight loss goal. Now, it won't directly impact your weight loss goal because it's about calories in versus calories out. And if you're drinking and managing your calories from alcohol, along with what you're consuming in a day and across a week, etc., you can make it work. So this comes down to drinking in moderation and managing it as part of your calorie allowance. Now, if you're not tracking, you're not going to have a calorie allowance. But whether you're tracking or not, these are simple things that you can do to support your alcohol consumption. Set intentions. Like, what is your intention for the night out? What do you want? Think about why you want to drink, how much you're planning to consume, and whether the type of event you're going to even lends itself to you drinking. And if you have numerous social events across a week, are you going to drink at all of them, or could you perhaps pick out the social event that you really want to drink at most and perhaps not drink at the other one? Or set a limit. Have a plan before you go. What am I going to drink and how much am I going to drink of it? Are you able to swap to a lower calorie alternative? So, for example, a gin and slimline or a vodka diet coke instead of wine, which tends to be more calorific. And also, the issue with wine is if someone's filling up your glass, you lose track. Is it one glass, two glass, three glasses? Because it's constantly being topped up and you never quite know. So, managing the quantity, having a plan. If you don't have a plan, you go out thinking, I'll just see how I feel, you're almost giving yourself permission to just do what you want. And when we've had a drink, it often impacts our ability to make those decisions that are in line with our goal, because that's what alcohol does, right? It dulls our senses and our logical brains. So having a plan is really going to help. And I would also encourage you to notice if alcohol truly improves your mood and whether it benefits your occasion, your evening, your meal out, and how you feel, not just when you're drinking alcohol, because we often really, in the moment it feels great, but how are you feeling the following day? How is it making you feel? Like, really, are you feeling low mood, low energy, lack of desire to make a healthy choice at breakfast, move, go out for a walk? Does it negatively impact you? And recognize it. Now, all of my clients who have reduced their alcohol consumption have fed back to me how much better they feel for it, and how they realize it had been habitual, and for some, an expectation that either they placed on themselves that, oh, right, I'm going out, I should be drinking, or an expectation that other people placed onto them. And when you recognize that and you question, why is it that I'm actually drinking? Now, if you want to go out and have a glass of wine, that's fine, but have that plan, set that limit. It's when it's a gray area and you don't have a plan, this is when things tend to go wrong. So things to think about. Now, another challenge is I've got one of my clients who's working away, and she's at liberty at the food vendors that are in the area and the environment that she's in. It's really difficult for her to make healthier choices. And I get that it can be really difficult. So there are certain things that you're not going to be able to control if you're at the mercy of the vendors on site. And, there is what there is. So I would always recommend make the best of a bad choice. And again, I don't like to use the word bad, but make the healthiest of an unhealthiest choice. Think about your portion size. Think about the 80% fullness. Think about how you can prioritize your protein. Think about maybe not choosing foods that are higher in creamy based sauces, that have creamy based sauces. Think about, can you reduce your, either leave out or reduce things like chips or other foods like that are not going to support your goal. Can you get to a supermarket to bump up your supplies? Could you have some fruit just for you to snack on? Could you get some salad bags or salad tubs or veg sticks that are already cut up, that are like carrot sticks, or anything that's available in the supermarket? And if you have access to a fridge, that you can store them, perhaps get some lean protein, already cooked meat slices, things that you could just throw open, peel back the film on a salad tub and add in your lean protein meat. Have it as a lunch if you get time to have a lunch break, and be able to pick it up and have it with you. Think about what you can do, not stress over what you can't do, but manage what you have no control over in the very, very best way that you can. Now, I also have had a lot of clients this week for various reasons, whether it's working extra hours and doing lots of overtime, looking after grandchildren, kids are off school, they're around, they're impacting the time that you have to do the things that you really want to do. I get it, right? This is real life. And we have to navigate our health and weight loss goals whilst also considering all the external pressures and commitments and responsibilities that we have. And sometimes it's going to be really challenging to do all the things we want to do, or that we know that we really enjoy doing and really want to do because we know it supports our health and makes us feel better, as well as supporting our goal. Now, planning ahead is always going to be key, because if you don't have a plan and you haven't scheduled in the time and allocated that time, you have no self accountability because it doesn't exist in your diary. It's not in your calendar. It's not something that you've scheduled in. If you had a busy day at work, but you had a dentist appointment, you wouldn't not turn up because you were busy or because you just couldn't fit it in. You'd prioritize fitting it in because you know that appointment exists. You're not going to let your dentist down. It's important and you're going to go. Now, if you treat your time to exercise, your time to walk, your time to prepare a healthy meal, your time to whatever it is that you want to do, if it doesn't exist in your diary, it's going to be hard for you to be accountable to it. So plan your day. Look at what you've got on in the day. What time do you finish? What time do you start? Where do you have a gap? Where can you fit it in? Is there one day that's more convenient than another day? When can you fit it in and schedule it in and stay accountable to it? And like my client earlier, if you can't do it at the time that you had planned for whatever reason, be flexible and change the time and change it in your diary and still stay accountable and do it. And please remember that something is always better than nothing. So if you don't have time to do a full workout, just choose 2 or 3 of the exercises from it and repeat them a couple of times. You are still stimulating your muscles and that will still benefit you. Okay. I'm just going through my notes. Okay, someone else has also said trying to find time to prepare meals and prepare foods. Now, you don't need to be always feeling the pressure to cook from scratch. Now, if you have time to and you can meal prep, I would always advise batch cooking a meal, whether it's for the whole family, whether it's you just on your own and you're batch cooking multiple portions for you to have during the week. Setting time aside to do that, whether it be at the weekend, an evening, or whenever is right for you, although it takes time, it will ultimately save you time, and it will save you a lot of time, and it will also enable you to be more mindful of your goals and adhere to your goals because you've got easy to grab food prepared that is nutritious and aligns with your goal. So I know that it takes time. So you can, I would always encourage you to try and batch cook one, kind of at least one a week, big meal. You can freeze some, you can put some, obviously, have a couple of portions in the fridge, freeze some, it will feed the family, double up the ingredients, etc. If you don't, on those days that you don't have time to cook from scratch, there is nothing wrong with a ready meal, a high protein ready meal from a supermarket. Many of them have improved in quality, and choosing a high protein ready meal from a supermarket is really better than not having a nutritious choice at all. And I sometimes eat ready meals when I'm busy during the day. I have them for lunch. I have the Aldi high protein meals. They're really quite tasty. And what I do to bump up the nutrition in it, although they're very high protein and very balanced, I will add extra veg to it to increase the substantialness and the size of that meal. So don't always feel that you have to be cooking from scratch. And like I demonstrated to the client that's working away from home, meat slices, salad, like it's, you don't make things complicated. Jacket potato, high protein filling, doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to start looking for different recipes for inspiration unless you want inspiration. But think about the foods that you enjoy eating and how you can prepare them, or do simple things like, for me, I love a chicken sausage. I don't cook two or three at a time, I cook the whole packet. I cook a batch of chicken breasts seasoned, and I cook the whole lot, and I got about 4 portions of chicken breast for during the week. I might add it to a stir fry, I might put it in a sandwich, I might have it with a salad, and therefore you've got multiple meals. It doesn't mean that you've got to be cooking all the time. Another really easy one is I sometimes cook a whole bag of baby potatoes, New Jersey potatoes, and then portion them. And then I add them to salads, have them on the side of my chicken or whatever it is. And it's really simple and really easy ways. Da, 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 da. Okay, and then a client who's feeling really burnt out at the moment. First of all, it's not a nice feeling burnt out. And I know that this client is super busy. She is doing 100 different things. Now, it is really important, if possible and where possible, to try and slow down, and recognizing that sometimes rest will serve you better than trying to do more on top of doing more. So please take time to rest. Recognize what that rest might look like. It doesn't necessarily always mean just sitting on a sofa, although that might be what you need, but it might also be just taking a nice mindful walk, keeping it short, nothing too overly demanding or taxing. You are already very active, and you are doing multiple things, and you are, working hard. So taking some time to rest. I know how much you enjoy your workouts. And again, if you did want to do something, you could just tag on a couple of exercises at the end of a walk, or where you feel you can. But please don't pressurize yourself. If you're going through an extremely busy time at the moment, sometimes taking rest will serve you better and will have you feeling a lot better, so that you can then take on more workouts once you're in a better place mentally and physically. Okay, last two challenges. I'm just aware of the time. I like to try and keep these podcasts short and punchy. So, if you're struggling with illness or anxiety or anything that dysregulates your appetite, reduces your appetite, and you don't feel like you want to eat, and then all of a sudden it comes back, and this increase in hunger and almost this uncontrollable urge to eat certain foods because you haven't been eating very much for however long it is that you've been unwell, etc. Now, how to manage this? What I would recommend is, first of all, make sure that you're eating 3 regular meals. I know this may sometimes be difficult, especially if you're used to skipping meals, or if you're working really hard and it's trying to fit everything in around all the commitments that you have. Skipping meals tends to catch up with you and bite you on the bum later in the day, when perhaps you're less busy, you're not working so much, and you have time to think about, oh my goodness, I'm actually noticing I'm really hungry. Whereas when you're busy and distracted, you don't normally notice how hungry you are because you're busy and you're distracted. Eating regular meals helps manage your hunger levels and regulate your appetite. So, first of all, that is what I would recommend. Now, if you can't have a sit down breakfast because you're busy, have something. Try, even if it's just a yogurt, peel back the lid, have a high protein yogurt, have some fruit with it. It can be on the go, even if you need it to be. Have those regular meals. And where you're tempted by certain foods, if you're craving foods, they tend to be the more processed foods, cakes, sweets, chocolates, crisps, etc. Now, it's not that you can't have them, but having them instead of a meal is where you're going to be really challenging yourself to manage your serving size and having the ability to stop. Because if you're eating those types of foods when you're already hungry, They're never going to fill you up. They're never going to satisfy you. They taste bloody delicious, and it's very easy to want to eat more and not feel satisfied by the amount that you're telling yourself that you're going to eat. So it's very easy. So to set yourself up for success, but also be able to include these types of foods, is have those 3 meals a day. Make sure they're high protein. Make sure they're high in fiber from your veg, from your salad, from your fruit. If you're going to choose to eat something that's less nutritious or calorie dense, typically, i.e., higher in calories, have a serving size. I just use an example. I'm going to just say it's a donut. Have the donut after a meal when you're already full from that meal. Sit down and eat it mindfully. Eat it slowly. Can you eat it and converse with a friend? Yes, you can. But when you're biting into that donut, don't be trying to talk at the same time. Bite into it. Eat it slowly. Notice how bloody delicious it tastes and how the textures, the flavors, and really eat it slowly. If you're going to be eating a food type like this and you're distracted and you're doing something else while you're eating it, you're going to probably overeat on it because you're not noticing it. You're not paying attention. And eating it mindfully, whatever it is, the donut, whatever it is that you're eating, and having it following on for a meal, you'll probably be more satisfied at eating the one and then getting on with your day. Please don't feel that you have to over restrict on these foods, because you don't. Even when your goal is weight loss, even when your goal is to lose body fat, you can still include these foods. Remember, you're managing a calorie budget, a calorie range target, and hitting your protein and your veg and your salad fruit requirements still gives you leftover calories to be able to enjoy these foods. And as long as you're staying within your target, you can still enjoy these foods. And even if you're not tracking, one donut's about 200 calories. You can make that work within your food choices. And a little bit of what you fancy helps your adherence to the rest of your diet. I want you to enjoy the foods that you're eating and not be like, oh God, here we are, chicken and broccoli again, or whatever it might be. You can have a good variety of foods and you can enjoy the foods you enjoy, but you can enjoy the foods that you really enjoy. Yeah, say that again. But it's how you do it. It's the strategy behind it and setting yourself up for success. Now, those of you who have children and they're off for the summer, or you're looking after children and they're off for the summer, when it comes to you being mindful of your weight loss goals around the pressures of looking after children, perhaps having days out, meals out, etc., have a plan, have a structure for the day. It might change every day depending what you're doing, but have a plan. No plan is, the saying, plan to fail, fail to plan. You have to have a plan. And your plan and your structure usually involves meal times. Where are you going to be for lunch? What are you going to eat? Are you going to leave yourself at the mercy of the fast food outlets? Or can you prepare a picnic that is going to hit all your nutrition requirements and ultimately not only benefit your health and your goal, but ultimately make you feel good? Where can you make compromises? Can you, compromise? You have to pick your indulgences. Is it the ice cream, the chips, or the dessert? Well, what is it? Choose one. You can't have them all, because unfortunately, when you're working towards a weight loss goal, you can't have it all and expect to lose weight. You're going to need to stay within a calorie range. If you keep going out of your upper end of your calorie target, you're going to be losing your calorie deficit. You won't see results. So managing your calories, picking your indulgences, noticing, those of you who are tracking, what I call calories, like whether you think they're worth it. Are you using full fat cheese? Could you swap it to reduced fat cheese? Are you having full fat yogurts? Could you swap to reduced fat yogurts? Are you drinking fresh orange juice? Could you just have sugar-free squash instead? Are you having full fat Coke? Could you swap to Coke Zero? Are you having full fat mayo? Could you swap to reduced fat mayo? Making smart swaps like this will save you calories. And you don't need to be tracking to know that. It's logic and it's also common sense. So apply some common sense to your nutrition choices. You putting your head in the sand and pretending that they don't impact your goal is being in denial. So bit of harsh sort of truth and reality is use some common sense on your choices. It's like, if you want the burger, perhaps you can swap out the chips. You can have the chips and the burger, but you're going to have to look at saving calories elsewhere. Does that mean not having the orange juice, the ice cream? You have to manage and pick those indulgences if you want to see results. You don't have to do anything. But if your goals matter to you and they're important to you, and you do want to, make progress towards your goal, you will have to make compromises. Where you make them is up to you, but you will need to make them. Now, it is only the end of week 1. Some of my clients, group coaching clients, are what I call my graduates. They have already completed a group coaching and they have stayed on. But for those of you in week 1 of end of week 1 in group coaching, we are not looking to make big weight loss progress in 1 week. As you heard me say earlier on in the podcast, a lot of it can be water weight initially. Focusing on the scales is not the answer to weight loss. It is a metric that we take into consideration along with measurements and photos. I can't emphasize enough the importance of focusing on your actions, not the end, not the outcome. Your actions are your habit-based targets, your step target, your nutrition targets, exercise. Those are your actions. Focus on ticking them off every day to the very best of your ability. They don't need to be perfect, but they do need to be consistent. Focus on those actions, and the progress that you see on the scales will happen as a byproduct. But not focusing on your actions, but expecting the results on the scales is not realistic. And if you want long-term sustainable weight loss, you have to focus on those actions and enjoying them. Enjoy the process. This is you taking care of your health. It's a really positive thing, and it's the most amazing thing that you can do for yourself. So keep up the great work. And any questions for anybody, remember, you can always reach out. Those of my clients on group coaching, remember, you have my daily support in the group chats, and we can also dissect anything that I've responded to in this group check-in. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening.